Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I have a whole lot of props, show and tell for this festive flavors and healthy eating. As we move into these festive times, what can we do? So, starting off with some tips to help you when you have dinner parties or luncheons, gatherings, parties in your decision making. So, first, eat before you go to the party. Quite often, people will wait in anticipation of the food that they will be eating, and then they show up to the party starving, which affects the decision making. When you're so hungry, you can't choose the things that would serve you best. So, eat before you go to a party, eat before you go to one of these gatherings. Stick to your normal eating routines as closely as possible. You can also think of having something to drink. Maybe have a nice tea or some water before going to a party so that you're not hungry, starving, angry. Okay? So, number two, be selective about what you do eat. Maybe you're going to a buffet style or um, it's a sit down, but be selective. Just because it's there on the plate, you don't have to eat it. Give yourself the permission to choose what is best. So I was talking with a client today, in fact, about that is you have your budget, you have your energy budget, food budget. What's the best food? And especially if you're going to a special occasion, try things. Serve a little bit on your plate. If you're able to serve yourself, serve a little bit, taste it, try it. And if it doesn't, I was going to say, if it doesn't knock your socks off, don't have it. Like, it should be the most amazing thing. So, whatever you look forward to, for some, we're talking specifically like apple pie, pecan pie. Like, if that's your thing, then try it. And if it's just the most amazing, enjoy it. But if it's not, let it go. You don't have to finish your plate. Give yourself the permission to leave things as they are. And perhaps this is another, which goes even deeper. It's like, you have to take care of yourself. This is hard, definitely challenging. You're with family. Some people take offense if you don't eat all of their food, but you have to take care of yourself. So, potentially controversial subject, do the best that you can. So, be picky or be very selective in the foods that you choose when you have the choice to choose. On top of that, be mindful of the snacking. So if you're, I was going to say at a relative's home or you're at a friend's home and they have foods everywhere, snacking, bowls of stuff that are out where you grab and you're talking and you're eating and you're munching. Be mindful, be conscious of these. Because when we're busy, we're occupied, we're talking, we're engaging, we don't realize. Did you know that it takes the brain about 20 minutes to recognize, realize, we're eating. Ah, that's enough. I don't need any more. So if you're distracted, you have all kinds of other stimulus. You're eating and doing, not just at parties, you're eating and this hinders the response in your body. Something to consider, something to think about. You can also bring your own dish. So I did a little show and tell. Maybe you don't have time, you can buy a veggie tray so that you know you have something like, okay, in between things, I could snack a little bit, a little show and tell. Oh, I could snack on the carrots or I could snack on some celery sticks or something like that. It doesn't have to be that, but bring a healthy dish that you know wherever you go, that if you bring your healthy dish, you know that at least you have one healthy option. Okay? And when you're out in these events, focus on socializing more than the eating. That yes, maybe you're going to a dinner party, but socialize more. One trick that has always stayed with me is was at one of the family gatherings and same thing, have your plate, you're walking around, you're mixing and mingling, you're talking, you're having food. And my little niece said to me, Audrey, you're talking with food in your mouth. And I was like, oh, you're right, I am. And I use that as I'm going to do my very best to speak with other people without food in my mouth. So that meant consciously smaller portions, consciously engaging in the conversation. So that talking with people, and then when it's time to eat, then I went and sat down, had a little plate of something, finished it, put it away, cleaned it up, and then went and talked with people again, and instead held my cup of tea or something like that. So these are some tips, these are some strategies. This isn't an overnight, like, oh, I'll just do that and it'll be easy. These festive celebrations, and especially when you're in traditional settings with your family, where they're accustomed to certain behaviors and habits, and if you're trying to move away from those, it is challenging. So these are things to consider, to work on. And remember, it's the progress. If you're working on making change in those things, especially behavior change, behaviors and habits that you have had for your entire life, overnight is not realistic. So take your time, do your best, and if you overindulge, then do the best that you can in your next meal. Another suggestion is the plate or bowl that you're using to serve yourself. You know, when you go out to restaurants, they use these humongous bowls, so the serving gets distorted, right? Portion distortion, if you've ever heard of that phrase, portion distortion, because the bowl is so huge, it looks like a small serving, but it's actually a big serving. So you can use that and counter that by serving yourself on a small plate. You know the difference between a dinner plate and then a salad plate. So if you use a small plate and then you eat from that plate, that will help you with your portion control if that is something that you're working on. So some tips to consider, and what I'm saying is consider to start thinking about, right? So it's a strategy. These are options. These are plans that you can go into and be prepared. It's going to equate it to sports, that you don't just go out there like, hey, we're going to play football. Like, there's typically a plan, right? You have plays that you work on where there's these different things. Like, same thing, that you know the game. I was going to say, you know the game of going to Aunt so and so's house or to your friend so and so's house, and you have the routine if it is part of the routine. And then now you have a new plan. Like, okay, this time I'm going in with this game plan, and I am going to be prepared and ready. I'm bringing my own dish. I know it's going to be healthy. I'm going to socialize more. I'm going to sip on my tea in between. I'm going to XYZ, right? All of the different things. And then you go to the event and enjoy yourself. And overall, the goal is that you're enjoying yourself, right? Enjoying yourself, enjoying your time, and trying out some things, not neglecting or restricting, but moderation. You can have things in moderation. So, some things to consider, some advice to help you. Next, traditional recipes. You can also think of enhancing traditional recipes, making healthier versions of them. So the starting point, low fat. So from a full fat, say typically it's dairy, right? Milk. And instead of a full fat milk, you can do a low fat milk. Creams. You can do some substitutions. I'll talk a little bit more about some things. Let's say some recipes. Okay, we'll go right into that. I've got some pumpkin puree. I have some sweet pumpkin squash puree. If you're making something from scratch on your own, what you could also do, along with the low fat version of things, you can also decrease the amount of sugar, so that you look at the recipes, and if it says 1 cup of sugar, if you do 1/3 of a cup, and then that remaining quarter, you would up the wheat, or maybe you add something in. Like sometimes I'll add some walnuts or something else. But next time I'll have to have a specific recipe for you that I'll share. Okay, potatoes. I like giving these nutrition talks in the kitchen because then there are practical examples. So I was going to say potatoes. If you use potatoes, let me see my fancy. So potatoes. If you're doing a potato dish, Wash the potatoes well. You can leave the skins on them. The skins have fiber. So it is okay to eat the skin of a potato. And by leaving the skins on, it increases the fiber content. Doesn't really seem like much because we feel it's so thin, but it's a little bit more fiber. So a healthier option. Fiber is where the nutrients are stored. Another something. Stuffing is typically made. I've got a bag of bread, white bread, right? White bread is a high glycemic index carbohydrate. So if you haven't heard of the glycemic index, I think most of you know glycemic index, but uh, it's the body's response to eating a particular food. And white bread happens to be the reference point, meaning it's the highest one. That you eat it, it's quickly released into the bloodstream. And what we want is to counter that. And by doing that, you can consider, instead of a white bread stuffing, you can do whole grain bread, or you could also add some quinoa. Quinoa comes in different colors. Quinoa is a grain, and it is an ancient grain. It's a superfood because this grain is high in fiber, it has antioxidants, and it also has protein. So you can consider making a variation of that. And once again, going back to food and recipes, people are very sensitive to those. So before you try a completely new recipe and bring it to a party, maybe you try it out at home first so that you can perfect your recipe so that it tastes good and then you can enjoy it. But these are some things to literally taste. Okay? Healthy desserts. You can do the low fat versions, but actually having healthy desserts. Fruit cups or fruit tarts, beautiful berries, nice color. The fruits have fiber in them. And there are some questions in regard to sugar, added sugars. So fruits, I happen to have some fruits here. Fruits have sugar in them naturally. It's called fructose. Fructose is sugar that comes from fruits. That's a natural sugar. So if you were looking on a label, not that fruits have labels, but nutrition facts, and it shows, it says carbohydrate, dietary fiber, soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, then it says total sugars, and then added sugars. So fruits do not have any added sugars, but say if you did a pre-packaged, prepared product, will have added sugars. And so be mindful of the different products. Start looking at those things. We'll use the nutrition facts, use the labels to your advantage because that's what it's for. It's information. The more information you know, and you can use it to your advantage to help you make healthier decisions. So moving on with the fruits, antioxidants, fiber. So fiber is roughage. Fiber is literally fibers. Here, I'm going to show some other things. Got some broccoli here. Have some Brussels sprouts. Fiber is found in vegetables and in fruit. And remember that grains are in that food group as well. But meat does not have fiber in it. So you want to up your vegetables as much as possible. That's why I have these leafy greens. Leafy greens, green vegetables, and vibrant, colorful vegetables. So here we have some more colors, right? Aim for the colors. Got some oranges, we've got some reds, some shades of greens. If I were to cut this, I've got a butternut squash. If I were to cut this in half, you have your oranges, right? So orange, vibrant, bright colors. Those are the antioxidants. So what are antioxidants? Antioxidants are, they're gems. Antioxidants are superstars. So in our world, in our environment, there is pollution from cars, from planes, from production. The air has pollution in it. Some foods have pollution in it, right? Smoking creates pollution. Fragrances, there's all kind of different things. And what happens is there's free radicals in response to that affect our cells. And when you eat antioxidants, antioxidants, preferably in their most natural form, meaning fruits and vegetables, that is how you can counter the effects of environmental pollutants and other things. So, number one antioxidant, again, the beauty of being in the kitchen. It's talking about this blueberries. So there is a scale, ORAC. It's antioxidant chart, and wild blueberries are highest on that particular chart, and wild blueberries, frozen wild blueberries, are the absolute highest. So it even says in here, wild blueberries have up to 2 times the antioxidant activity compared to ordinary blueberries. This is an easy way that you can add more nutrients into your meals and your snacks. So blueberries, you can make a blueberry fruit cup or a blueberry fruit salad. You could do, say, of your cheesecakes, cakes, you do a blueberry syrup. So some ways that you can add or enhance the recipes that you already have. So starting to think about those things. In addition to that, leafy greens, high in antioxidants, but spices in particular. And this is an easy way to get in your antioxidants. So again, on that scale, score, cloves, nutmeg, really high in antioxidants, as is oregano and marjoram. So what's pretty neat about those in regard to, say, your pumpkins and your squashes, nutmeg and cloves, these are spices that can be sweet and savory. So experiment with those, or if you already know, like I know a lot of people that use nutmeg with their coffee or tea, or use it in baking. So if you already know, like, once I learned that these are high in antioxidants, then I would consciously add more to my recipes, knowing, that's an easy way to level up the nutrient content. In addition to these spices is ginger and turmeric. So ginger is another one. Ginger is used in a lot of Asian cooking. Ginger can be savory. It can also be sweet. I like to put ginger in smoothies. I like to put it in baked things. Ginger, I like ginger with apples and cinnamon. It gives it a nice kind of warming spice. If you're not accustomed to any of these spices, experiment. Literally, right? Taste them out. Taste them and test them out for yourself. It might be an acquired taste. So start off slowly and gradually, as with anything, and then maybe add a little bit more. But ginger is a wonderful one. And on top of that, ginger is the antioxidants, it's anti-inflammatory, it's good for digestion. So that's something to think about. I'm actually drinking a ginger tea, so you can do a tea. There are tea bags that already have them. You can boil water and have some ginger in there. People use that for broths. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So speaking of which, I'm going to stay hydrated with some ginger tea, getting my antioxidants and maintaining my health. So adding these spices. Turmeric. Turmeric is found in curry. So turmeric is a savory spice for sure. And if you're making a dish using turmeric, add some black pepper. And what the black pepper does, the black pepper helps to improve or enhance the digestion, the absorption of the turmeric. Turmeric is known, especially in supplements, as an anti-inflammatory. So you can find turmeric tablets. Literally, it's a powder. I have it here. You see, it's orange powder. And if you were to look at it, it looks similar to, this is ginger. So they're roots. Turmeric is smaller and it's more orange. And when you chop it, it's really orange. It's orange liquid. Your cutting board will turn orangey from it. And experiment, again, like I said. So the first time when I learned about turmeric, that it was a really good herb for antioxidants and anti-inflammation, I went and took a scoop, put it in my mouth, and it was so dry, like just so dry, didn't really have, has a flavor, not a major flavor, but it's like I had to drink like a cup, a huge cup to wash it down. But these are things that you can work with. Turmeric is really nice. It's really nice with pumpkin. It's really nice with butternut squash, with the squashes. So play around and experiment with things. Maybe you also put it in, you could do a dip. So I've done some turmeric, put it in with dips or make hummus with it. So experiment, experiment, experiment. Continuing and moving on with eating and mindful eating. Touched on it a little bit. There's different words for it. People say mindful eating, conscious eating. Really, what that means is being aware, being present to the whole eating experience. Life is busy. You are busy. We are busy. But can you stop and be present to your eating? So I have here, it's like while we're driving in the car and on these festive occasions, that's an opportunity to be present, right? To be mindful, engaging your mind and your body, being present to the eating experience. You also think of engaging all of your senses. So I like to think first, seeing the food, right? Look at the food. I don't have anything fancy. This is the fancy I've got here, right? See the presentation. Look at the colors. Like, oh, look at the colors. How is it presented? So seeing, smelling, maybe there's a certain aroma, right, of your favorite foods. These are things that you do naturally that you don't even realize, but your body is attracted to. Ooh, there's certain colors, the way that things look, the textures of the foods, and maybe the smell, the aroma, baked goods, right? Or like the smell of garlic. There's all kinds of different smells, and whatever foods that you prefer, it's all of that experience. So give yourself the time to slow down and be present to the food, being mindful of the food in your mouth, the amount that you put into your mouth, thoroughly chewing your food, like chew the food, swallow the food so that you feel it, so that you're present to the experience. Truly taste your food, savor the food. And this will help with your portions. This will help with eating so that you feel comfortable. So I want to talk about hunger and satiety, or hunger and comfort. So we eat when we're hungry. Well, what does it feel like to be hungry? That ties in with the mindful eating, being mindful of the sensations that you are experiencing in your body. So some people don't feel hunger until they're sometimes, like for me, I get cold. Some people start to get a little distracted, or they get irritated, or they notice that they are more impatient than they usually are, and they're not sure what's going on. And then they realize, I'm hungry. They start to realize, and then maybe like, oh, I haven't eaten today at all. I've been so busy working. So those are things that you can start paying more attention to so that you're more in tune with your own, call it body cues. What are your particular cues so that you can catch, I'm starting to get hungry, as opposed to waiting so long and then you are starving, you're famished, and then you don't make the right decisions. You're hangry, where you're just because you need food, right? So that's one scale. Then the other scale is satiety, being satisfied. What does it feel like in your body to feel satisfied from eating the snack or from eating the meal? And that might not be something that you have the answer to quite yet, because you might not have been so mindful of it, where perhaps instead of feeling satisfied, you're like, oh, I'm comfortable, where you might not notice it until like, ooh, I feel kind of full. And what does that feel like? Oh, I can feel like my stomach feels pressure in it, or I might feel heavy, right? And so if you start catching these things, like what is that sensation? What does it feel like? And then to feel the difference of, okay, I feel full. And then to feel like, ooh, I feel stuffed. What does that feel like? Typically, it's going to say Thanksgiving holidays or other things where there's food and there's lots of food out, and and you're eating because it's there. But then to realize and catch up, I don't really need to eat more because I feel satisfied. I feel comfortable. I can stop right now and feel good. Something again to work on. If you're not used to these cues, this is a fantastic learning. And this is really learning about yourself. Learning about yourself, learning how your body responds, the signs, the ways in which your body is trying to talk to you. And now that you're taking a moment to listen, ah, that's what my body's trying to tell me. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm sensing. So, another some tips and cues for you to notice, to be mindful of your hunger, comfort, satiety around the foods that you're eating. And so, lastly, leftovers. Festive times, we want to have lots of food because that's the abundance. We want to share and mix and mingle and make sure that everyone is satisfied, right? So satisfied and happy because you never want to have a party where people are hungry. That's kind of not a good feeling. So we have a plethora of foods and all kinds of things you can choose from. So we end up having leftovers. So some ideas, thinking with turkey, could make a salad. Say you do some greens, you can do some beans, you can do, say you had a whole bunch of leftovers. Say that you had garbanzo beans, you have turkey, you have some roasted potatoes, maybe you have some baby tomatoes and some carrots. You can make a salad with that. So say you start with a base, it can be a mix. Maybe you do some spinach, you can do mixed greens, cut up some turkey, you can cut up some of the roasted potatoes, you can cut up some of the tomatoes and some of the carrots, put them in there, put your favorite dressing, mix it all up, and then you have a salad. Usual people do turkey sandwiches. Um, have you ever done, or you can do a stir fry? Also, vegetables. So say here, I've got broccoli, I have carrots. You can do an Asian one, ginger. You've got ginger, you do some garlic, the turkey, mix it all together. You could do a stir fry. You could do a turkey vegetable fried rice leftover. You can make soups. You can use the bones and really just fill a big pot and meat and cut up some vegetables and just let it stew, literally. And you create your own broth. So you're making a broth, a just rich, rich, rich broth. I'm half Chinese, and growing up, we did lots and lots of chicken-based things, and you use the bones and cook it and cook it. There's a congee where it's chicken broth, and you put onions and you put garlic and water, and you just keep cooking it, and you put some rice and you put some other things. Basically, it's whatever leftovers you have, and you put them in there, you just let them cook and boil and simmer, and it turns into this stew. You can make stews, you can make soups, you can make chilies. Someone also gave the idea of turkey enchiladas. That's pretty nice too, right? So think of your favorite flavors, Mexican flavors. You could do, so you have salsa, you have some nice avocado, right? And you put all those things in there so that it can help you the next time you have to make a meal that you already have the leftovers. So maybe you get a little more creative and think outside of the box, like, what can I make with what I already have? So a lot of information. This is not to take every single thing that you have to work on all of them perfectly. Maybe, not just maybe, my goal is that you take one thing from here, like, oh, that's one thing that I can definitely do. I can realistically do that and going to work on it. So again, is going to these festive occasions where there will be eating, dinner parties, luncheons, cocktails, whatever. Plan ahead by being prepared so that you have something to eat. Maintain your normal routine, hydrate, and then go there and be selective, be choosy, be picky. You don't have to eat everything on your plate, right? Watch out for the mindless snacking. Socialize more than eating. Slow things down. Look for healthy versions. Experiment with healthy versions. And what can help you? Like, is it healthy? Can you see some vegetables or fruits in there? Choose those type of things, right? Antioxidants, they're mostly in vegetables and fruits. fiber that's in vegetables and fruits. So can you find some of those, or can you bring some of those? And remember that if you don't do as well as you had hoped, what lessons can you learn? And then next time you go to an event, you do better, right? Because every meal is another chance for you to do your best, right? And we're constantly learning. If you've been doing something for your whole entire life, as I said before, one event might be very challenging. But each time you go, you learn a little bit and you make a better choice, and you make a better choice. Lastly, being mindful, paying attention to your body cues. Listen to yourself a little bit more. Do I feel hungry? What do I feel like? Do I feel comfortable? What does comfortable feel like? Some things to consider. So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening, and wishing you some festive occasions.